Greetings, Uncle Travelling Matt here. It's midnight and I am reporting on what is essentially my last day on the Bulgaria trip. There is tomorrow, but since the plane leaves at 12:30, it's not really much of a day. But I will do a video tomorrow where I kind of reflect on the whole trip and talk about, what I've learned, what I haven't, what I liked, what I didn't, and so on and so forth. But today, I woke up in Bansko, woke up a bit better, getting up early this morning. I mean, not that good, but I was out of the house by 9:30, which for me is pretty damn good going on holiday. And I drove to Rila, and it was a pretty straightforward drive, quite reasonable road. Stopped in a little town on the way to Rila and had a banitsa and ayran for my breakfast, but that was that. And then I went to Rila Monastery. Now, Rila Monastery is the preeminent monastery in Bulgaria. It's the one place that everyone says you need to see in Bulgaria, and it is the biggest monastery in Bulgaria. It was founded by Saint Ivan or John of Rila, and he was a hermit, and he went out into the uninhabited mountains and lived there, and very much a bit like so many saints, Bertram, my favourite, being one of them. And but he caught the imagination, and so a community gathered around him, again very much like an early Celtic saint, and thus the monastery was born. Interesting, not too different in timescale from the Celtic saints as well. I think it was 800 and something, so a little bit later than some of ours, but not much later. And that's why there's a monastery in the middle of nowhere. And it is a pretty amazing monastery. There's one courtyard, but the buildings around it, they're about 5 or 6 stories high. I mean, it's massive. So in scale, it's more like some of the huge Catholic monasteries I've been to. The Orthodox ones tend to be smaller and more humble, but the layout is very Orthodox, where it's a courtyard. So it's almost like a fortification, but in the middle is the church. And it's very distinctive in its kind of zebra stonework, black, white sort of thing. I went in and went to the kitchen museum first, because Alex had recommended that. It's the old monastery kitchens, but what's remarkable about it is the chimney. The chimney is something else, and it goes up in layers, and there are 12, which is probably intentional, I guess, being a holy number. And wow, that was pretty cool. Then I went into the main museum, which there won't be photos of because I wasn't allowed to photograph, but there were some pretty great treasures in there. There's a Raphael's cross, not Raphael, the famous Italian artist, but a local Raphael. But he's it was an incredible one of these carved wooden crosses, very much like we saw a lot of in Kikos, but this one is on another level. It was brilliant. And and the usual icons, and there was nice firmans from the Ottomans, and gifts the Ottomans had sent the monastery, and gifts that they'd had from Russia and stuff. It very much became the symbol of Bulgaria. And I went into the church. I did my customary 3 candles and prayed. The church is beautifully covered in frescoes. I don't think they're particularly old, but it is a powerful building. And I had quite a powerful prayer in there. But I can't say it touched my heart like Traian Batchkova did. There was a tower as well, and I climbed up the tower, and it would have been great if there was decent windows at the top so you could get great views over, but there wasn't. But yeah, it was okay. The best thing though, the water from the fountains was ice cold and gorgeous. It's one of the greatest spring water I've tasted. So that was Rila Monastery, and then I hit the road again, retraced my steps to the main road. I went on the new dual carriageway to Sofia, so it took very little time. Stopped off at a petrol station where I booked tonight's accommodation, and made my arrangements for the rest of the day. And then, because I had a little bit of time, on the edge of town, I went to 2 sites I wanted to go to. One was the Ottoman tekke, well, turbe, the tomb that the lady in the Manyabashi Mosque had told me about right at the beginning. And it is a Bektashi one because I'm reading the history of Demir Baba at the moment, and it is mentioned. But it's strange because it's a very simple, I mean, it's 16th century, but it's this very simple square stone building. But it's in like the graveyard of a church. And the church is much later, obviously, it's Victorian, but the church is St. Elen, or Elijah's church. And Elijah always seems to be connected with these Sufi sites. And of course, Al-Hida, who is, the big Sufi character that I've spoken about a lot in the past, he is often identified with Elijah, and I wonder if that's why. So at Dimi Baba, the priests would celebrate Mass there on Elenden, it's Elijah's Day, and the one that I wanted to go and see, apparently that was Saint Elen's tekke, and this, there just seems to be this Elijah connection, which is interesting. Then I went on, but couldn't get in it, unfortunately, so didn't think it was that great inside anyway, looking through the window, but yeah. Then I went on to Boryana Church, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a simple country church, although now Boyana is a suburb of Sofia, but it's on the UNESCO list for its frescoes in the down. There's an upstairs church and a downstairs church. The upstairs church, the frescoes got damaged because of an earthquake, and there's nothing to see, and we couldn't go in it anyway. But the downstairs church, these amazing frescoes. And even though, after a holiday with Alex, you can quite easily get fed up of frescoes, these were on another level, and they were really interesting because it's dedicated to St. Nicholas, and they weren't the usual scenes. They were often scenes of his life. I also spotted St. Constantine and St. Helena, and the faces were really realistic. They were really well done, and they're very early. They're medieval, so that was that. So that was my final site in Bulgaria. Then I drove back to the car hire place. They had no issues with the car. They didn't try and put any scratches on it or anything like that. So car sorted, jumped on the metro and got to my accommodation, which is smack in the centre of Sofia. I mean, literally, I'm looking out this window, I can see Tsum, the old communist era department store. And if there wasn't this building in the way, I'd see the party house. So I am literally in the heart of town, and it's only costing me about 30 odd lev, which is it's like under 20 quid. Result. So yeah, that's that. And although it isn't all good, because when I got here, there was nobody in reception, and I eventually got the guy on the phone, and they was like, well, where were you? And he's like, well, we finish at 6. I'm like, yeah, but A, I told you I was coming after 6, and B, I was here at 5:30. It's like, yeah, well, I knocked off early. Yeah, because I had something to do. I'm like, well, you knew I was coming. Yeah, I only just saw the message. So, okay. Anyway, so I'm in this, like, quite, this like, I think it's a 50s building, but it's got really atmospheric lift. It's great. It's great fun. Anyway, that's that. Didn't really do anything because I could have gone somewhere, but everywhere was shut by this time. But then at 8, I went out and I met my Bulgarian teacher online. Her name is Ivanova, and she was my Bulgarian teacher through, what was the app called? iTalki. And yes, I mean, I really wanted to meet her because I talked to her so much online. And so I met her in the park by NDK. Now, NDK, I took the metro. Only one stop to NDK, which is the National Palace of Culture, which was Lyudmila Zhivkova's project. She was the daughter of the dictator, a very interesting lady, into the occult, mysticism and culture and stuff. But anyway, in the grounds of that, there's this bar, and we met, and 2 of Ivanka's friends turned up. One was called Helena, she works in HR, and the other was called I don't know if it's Agape or Agapea, but she's half Greek, it's the Greek name, and she is fascinating lady, really interested in history and also religion, and well, she told me lots of interesting things that I didn't know about, and I don't think anyone can knew either. So anyway, we had a really nice evening. It was just really, really pleasant, and so thanks to them for including me in their evening, and it's made a fantastic end to the holiday. And luckily, I could give them a little bit of a gift. Not a really good one, but we had that bottle of rakia we bought, and a tray of Monster, we only drank half of it, and rather than throw it away, I said, cool, have the rakia. So yeah, they've got some good rakia anyway. So that's that, and then myself and Iwonka and Agapea, we walked back from NDK along the main street to my rooms, and that was that. So that is the end of basically my final day. It's off home tomorrow. It's been a great trip. I'll tell you all about it in the next video. Travel.